Imagine this. You're sitting in a movie theater, half an hour into the film. The story's getting intense. But just before the interval, you suddenly feel that familiar pressure. You really need to pee. We've all been in that kind of situation, right? Maybe during a long lecture in class, or on a bus, or in traffic jam, when there's no restroom nearby. Sometimes we just have to hold it even when we don't want to. Whether it's due to the situation or circumstances, we end up controlling the pressure of our bladder. Normally, an average person urinates around 4 to 6 times a day. But many people, either because of their schedule or personal habits, tend to hold their pee for much longer than they should. In fact, it's not always about urgency or lack of facilities. Sometimes we do it just because we're busy. We tell ourselves, I'll go later, and wait for the pressure to build up, whether we're at home, shopping, hanging out in the park, or sitting in a restaurant. Interestingly, research shows that people under 25 often develop a subconscious habit of holding in their pee. They don't even realize it, but their body slowly gets used to suppressing the urge again and again until it becomes second nature. But here's the real question. What really happens to our body when we keep doing this? Does holding your pee have any side effects? And can your bladder really burst if you hold it for too long? Well, technically, yes. There have been a few cases where a person's bladder had burst, but those cases usually involve other medical issues. Our body has 12 to 14 natural urges. For example, hunger, thirst, sneezing, yawning, coughing, crying, and urinating being one of them, which should never be suppressed. That said, occasionally holding in your pee isn't necessarily dangerous. It's not something to worry about unless you're doing it very frequently or for unusually long periods of time. The average adult bladder can comfortably hold about 2 glasses of liquid. That's roughly half a liter of urine. But if that amount crosses 1 liter, it can turn into a serious situation and even become risky. There are special receptors that monitor the level of urine inside your bladder. As the bladder fills, these receptors send signals to your brain. Once it reaches a certain limit, the signals become stronger. That's when you start to feel the urge to go. The more your bladder fills, the stronger those signals become and the more pressure you feel. Most adults can control this sensation pretty well, choosing whether to go right away or wait a bit longer. When you decide to hold it, the external sphincter muscles at the base of your bladder tighten up to block the urine from leaking out. These tiny muscles are the real heroes that help you keep control when nature calls. But if you keep doing this, holding your urine too often or for too long, or if you strain too much while peeing, those muscles can gradually weaken over time. Now imagine you're a driver who spends long hours on the road and can't always stop for a restroom break, or a teacher or nurse or someone whose work doesn't always allow frequent bathroom trips. In those cases, this repetitive habit can cause long-term problems. One of those problems is called urinary retention. It's when your ability to hold or release urine properly gets weaker. Even a little pressure can cause leaks, or you might feel an uncontrollable urge to go. Over time, this also affects your overall urinary control. Even after you've gone to the bathroom, your bladder might not empty, leaving a small amount of urine behind. That leftover urine can cause trouble. When it stays inside the bladder for too long, it can lead to bacterial growth, infections, and other issues like bladder infections or UTIs, urinary tract infections. Those are the kind of problems that happen when you frequently hold your pee. But what if someone takes it too far? Like holding it for way longer than the body can handle? Believe it or not, there's a famous case from history. The European scientist Tycho Brahe reportedly died because he held his pee for way long and his bladder burst. Now, for a normal person, it's practically impossible to hold it for that long. If someone actually tried to force themselves, the body would eventually override their control and the urine would simply leak out on its own. There have been a few extremely rare cases of bladder rupture, but almost all of them involve people who already had bladder injuries or medical issues beforehand. In some instances though, it happened to completely drunk people. After consuming too much alcohol or fluids, their bladder filled up quickly, but their brain was too impaired to register the urge. As a result, they unknowingly held it for hours. But again, that's an extremely rare scenario. The chances of that happening are maybe one in a million. So overall, holding your pee isn't something to panic about. It only becomes a concern if you've been doing it habitually for years, or if you force yourself to hold it far longer than necessary. In most cases, it's not a serious problem. The real issue arises when your body gives up control and you end up peeing yourself in public. And well, that's the kind of embarrassment nobody wants to experience.